Here are the top stories for today, October 15, 2020. President Duterte wants all Filipinos to receive COVID-19 vaccine for free. The president warns that getting involved in illegal drug trade is like committing suicide. Measures are underway for companies' 13th month pay. And Baguio City is gearing up for the hosting of the 2020 Miss Universe Philippines. Good day, I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. All Filipinos have to be immunized for the deadly coronavirus disease. This is the message of President Rodrigo Duterte during his talk to the people last night. He said he already has the money, but he is looking for more to purchase COVID-19 vaccine for the entire population.
But this I can assure you, again, na nakahanap na ako ng pera. I have the money already for the vaccine. But kahanap pa ako ng maraming pera because, there are now 130 million Filipinos. And to me, ideally, all should have the vaccine without exception. Lahat. Para meron kayong lifetime or whatever, but it can provide immunity. Panglaban ho, yung body, yung armor mo, yung sundalo mo sa katawan mo, malabanan siya. And that is how the vaccine works. Again, mauna ang mga mahirap na walang pera, hindi makabayad. I want my soldiers, pati yung security forces ng bayan, mauna rin kasabay ng first batch kasi kailangan ko ng mga sundalo at pulis na ready, healthy at walang COVID. Tayo, kami mga civilian, pwede tayong may last.
Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. attributed the decrease in the number of COVID-19 cases from a change in people's behavior and effectiveness of the advertisements featuring President Rodrigo Duterte.
Sir, yung pagbaba, sir, ng ating mga cases, isa po doon po, sir, is nag-change ng behavior na ang mga tao natin. Kasi po, nung nagkaroon po tayo ng commercial, nakasama po kayo, at saka po yung tinatawag nating infomercials ng business sector. Dalawa po ang yung nakita namin na nagkaroon ng traction. And we believe with the massive infomercials natin po, sir, yung ingat buhay para sa hanap buhay, at saka po yung ingat-angat tayong lahat ng business sector, ay talaga pong medyo nagbago po. Pangalawa po, yung talaga pong yung ating strategy na test, trace, isolate, and treat, ay medyo nakakaroon na po ng traction sa ating mga LGUs. Ang ating LGUs po, natututo na po na talagang naibaba na po natin ang ating estratehiya. At sa kasalukuyan po, 32,000 po na naka-home quarantine ay nailabas po natin sa kanilang mga bahay. Yung pong 32,000 po na yon, dito po mostly sa NCR at saka Region 4A at saka Region 3, kung hindi po yan na ilabas at naidala po natin sa mga hotels, ay mag-multiply po yan.
President Rodrigo Duterte's anti-illegal drug policy remains the same. He said getting involved in illegal drug trade is like committing suicide.
Ang labanan lang dito ngayon is yung droga. The policy remains. Wala akong iniiba. Basta ako, pagka sinira mo ang Pilipinas, ang bayan ko, papatayin kita. Hinihingi mo Para kang suicide. If you commit suicide, bakit ako ang mademanda? Ngayon, kung papasok ka sa droga, gusto mo mag-suicide, kung mabaril ka ng pulis dyan, pati militar, bakit mo ako sisihin? Na gusto mo mag-suicide. Ginusto mo Pumasok ka ng droga That is suicide.
Meanwhile, the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency destroys more than 6 billion pesos worth of dangerous drugs at the Integrated Waste Management Incorporated in Barangay Aguado, 13 Martires, Cavite today. PDEA Director General Wilkins Villanueva said the destruction is in compliance with the order of President Rodrigo Roa Duterte to immediately destroy seized contraband to avoid recycling by unscrupulous individuals. The Philippine National Police will now be equipped with brand new motorcycles to go after street criminals. President Rodrigo Duterte, on his talk to the people last night, said he intended to go hard on criminals in the last 2 years of his term, as there is an upsurge of street crimes such as holdups after quarantine classifications were relaxed. According to Duterte, police officers should be in plain clothing or civilian clothes to avoid identification as a law enforcement officer.
Kasi ang motor kasi, magsisigzag lang yan in and out of traffic situations. And they can really get away with it easily. Like we can train the highway patrol can train about siguro in one class 30. Pero hindi naka-uniforme. Alam mo, we should, I know that it is not advisable, but the only way to really counter the anonymity of the criminals is also to fight this thing on the ground.
Senate Bill 1844, or an act authorizing the President to expedite the processing and issuance of national and local permits, licenses, and certifications, have been approved in the Senate hours after President Rodrigo Duterte certified it as urgent. This bill grants the Chief Executive special powers to speed up the issuance of government licenses and permits during national emergencies, such as the COVID-19 pandemic. In a statement, presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said Duterte wanted government agencies to be more responsive in the present health crisis, and one way to realize this is to improve the delivery of public services. Duterte has repeatedly expressed frustrations over the persistence of bureaucratic red tape in previous speeches. Under the said bill, the President may fix or shorten the periods for the processing and release of these documents. He may also suspend or waive the requirements for securing them. He may also prescribe that the streamlined processes and procedures implemented under the measure be made permanent. House Majority Leader Martin Romualdez said the chamber is readying a counterpart measure to this bill. Health officials say granular lockdowns may be imposed by the local government if cases of COVID-19 increase in their respective areas. This is in response to Octa research team's recommendation to impose stricter community quarantine in Bawan, Batangas, Calbayog in Western Samar, and General Trias in Cavite. According to Octa, the daily attack rate per 1,000 people in Bawan climbed to 11.9% from 6.2%. While in Calbayog, it rose to 8% from 5.1%, and in General Trias to 7.6% from 4.9% from October 4 to 11. It says Metro Manila, Cavite, Rizal, Batangas, Laguna, Bulacan, Negros Occidental, and Iloilo are COVID-19 hotspots in the past 2 weeks. For its part, Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergara said the DOH is not just looking at the increase in the number of COVID-19 infections, saying health system capacity is now the major determinant in terms of community quarantine implementation.
Binigyan natin ng authority ang local government units, no, that they can do their granular lockdowns if ever they would see that their cases are rising, tulad ng mga ospital po, mababa ang utilization, katulad po ng mga temporary treatment and monitoring facilities. And then they have adequate gatekeeping indicators, like meron ho silang efficient contact tracing, nakakagawa po sila ng surveillance nila, testing is appropriate. Maaari po na hindi natin talaga bigyan ng rekomendasyon na magsara sila ng mas mahigpit dahil yung kanilang health system ay maaaring maging makakaagapay, no? When in case the numbers will continue to increase.
For those who are eyeing to receive their 13th-month pay, the government said it is looking into the possibility of providing subsidies to distressed companies to enable them to comply with the mandatory pay. Details from Chris Mundo.
The government is looking at providing subsidies to small companies that were badly affected by the coronavirus disease 2019 to help them give workers their much-needed 13th-month pay. Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello III said they are currently studying the possibility to assist employers that have suffered losses due to the pandemic. Meanwhile, Trade Secretary Ramon Lopez said the government stands ready to support distressed micro and small enterprises amid the pandemic by means of loan and subsidies. For its part, the Department of Finance said it has yet to commit to the proposal as it needs to determine first if they have the budget to cover the said subsidy. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Chris Mundo.
Still to come, DENR maintains that dolomites in Manila Bay are not washed out. And the IRR of the anti-terror law has already been completed. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Alamin kung paano ang tamang pagsusuot ng surgical mask. Una, hawakan ang mask sa strap at siguruhing natatakpan nito ang inyong bibig at ilong. Tandaan, ang may kulay na bahagi ng mask ang dapat nasa labas. Ito lamang ang tamang paraan ng pagsuot nito. Ihulma ang nose piece o maliit na metallic strip ayon sa hugis ng inyong ilong. Iwasan ang paghawak sa inyong ilong at bibig. Kung marumi na ang mask, hubarin ito gamit ang strap at itapon ito sa isang basurahan. Siguruhin ang maayos na paghuhugas ng kamay gamit ang sabon at tubig. Ang surgical mask ay dapat gamitin ng mga pasyenteng may sakit sa baga o mga taong mayroong ubo, sipon at lagnat, mga nag-aalaga sa mga may sakit, at mga healthcare at frontline workers. Maaari ring magsuot nito kung kayo ay pupunta sa matataong lugar. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
You're still watching the PNA Newsroom. The Department of Environment and Natural Resources, or DENR, maintained that the dolomite white sand overlay was not washed out from the Manila Bay. Instead, black sand were washed in due to the recent rains and have settled on top of the dolomite white sand. Meanwhile, Antiporda said that they are willing to coordinate with UP as long as consultation is for free. Meanwhile, the UP Marine Science Institute clarified that they only received around 363 million for the last 10 years and not 500 million as claimed by USEC Antiporda. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque, for his part, offered to mediate between them, saying the row between Antiporda and UP is just a misunderstanding. The Philippine Statistics Authority appealed to residents to cooperate in the ongoing house-to-house pre-registration for the Philippine Identification System, or PhilSys. Enumerators from the PSA have started interviewing the heads of families in the region on basic demographic data that will be integrated prior to its final printing. PSA Davao Region Director Pepito Amoyen asked residents to cooperate so they can beat the November target to complete the registration process. Amoyen made the call after receiving reports that some residents are hesitant to provide basic information about their identities for fear of being profiled. The PSA is targeting to complete the PhilSys registration for low-income families by December this year. The Implementing Rules and Regulations of Republic Act 11479, or the Anti-Terrorism Act of 2020, has been approved on schedule by the Anti-Terrorism Council. Justice Secretary Menardo Guevara said the Department of Justice, or DOJ, will disseminate copies to the Congress and law enforcement agencies and publish the IRR in the next few days. The DOJ last August started drafting the IRR of the law signed by President Rodrigo Duterte on July 3. The new law seeks the detention of suspected terrorists for up to 24 days with no warrant of arrest. It also allows the conduct of a 60-day surveillance with an allowable 30-day extension on suspected terrorists. The law also imposes a 12-year jail term on a person who voluntarily or knowingly joins a terrorist organization. The Philippine National Police urges all companies and business owners to include National Police Clearance or NPC as a requirement for job applicants. PNP Chief General Camilo Cascolan said police clearance is as important as the clearance given by the National Bureau of Investigation or NBI. The NBI clearance shows if an applicant has pending cases, while the police clearance show if they have a warrant of arrest. This came as some companies require employees to submit NBI clearance but do not ask for NPC as part of job requirements. Cascolan, however, said he is open to the idea of a unified clearance for the PNP and the NBI. The PNP and the SM Supermalls signed a Memorandum of Agreement or MOA for the establishment of NPC hubs in selected SM malls. The first police clearance desks will be set up in SM Mall of Asia. A lawmaker pushed for more access to formal bank financing for small borrowers, such as micro businesses and farmers. Albay Representative Joey Salceda filed House Bill number 7863, also known as Fair and Inclusive Credit Information and Scoring Act. The bill mandates a credit inclusiveness study to determine whether conventional credit scoring techniques exclude specific segments of society. With this, the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas can prohibit credit scoring models that are deemed to be unduly exclusionary. Salceda said alternative credit scoring mechanisms must be introduced to ensure that borrowers with no previous borrowing history or conventional proof of financial capacity can gain access to bank financing. This would protect farmers, small businesses, and small borrowers from onerous options such as payday loans that impose unfair interest rates. Salceda said small borrowers also have the paying capacity. In our business news, sales of imported vehicles in the country rebounded in the third quarter of the year. The Association of Vehicle Importers and Distributors, or AVID, reported that third quarter sales grew triple-digit by 212% to about 15,000 units from second quarter sales of 4,955 units. Passenger cars recorded the highest quarter-on-quarter growth at 260%, over 5,600 units sold. However, year-to-date sales of AVID remained negative, declining by 45.6% this year to nearly 35,000 units from about 64,000 in 2019. AVID President Maria Fe Perez Agudo said they aim to restore consumer confidence quickly and decisively so that the auto industry could get back on track and bounce back strong. Up next, PAGUDPUD opens its resort for drug reformists, and Baguio is gearing up for the hosting of 2020 Miss Universe Philippines. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
Alamin ang tamang paraan ng pag-ubo upang mapigilan ang paglaganap ng Coronavirus Disease 2019. Ugaliing magdala ng panyo o tissue. Kung uubo o babahing, takpan ang buong ilong at bibig gamit ang panyo o tissue. Kung walang dalang panyo o tissue, maaaring gamitin ang braso na pantakip. Kung nakararamdam na kailangan umubo o bumahing, agad na dumistansya sa mga tao sa paligid. Huwag dumura kung saan-saan, gumamit ng tissue at itapon sa basurahan. Ugaliin ang paghuhugas ng kamay at paggamit ng alcohol o hand sanitizer upang mamatay ang mikrobyo. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to. Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
Israel flag carrier El Al Israel Airlines has landed in Manila for the first time in 7 years on Wednesday. The El Al airplane with flight number LY063 landed at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport carrying 250 agriculture students who completed their 11-month on-the-job training course in Israel. Israeli ambassador to the Philippines, Rafael Harapas, said this is a historic first in the last 7 years that symbolized the good relations between the two nations. He said the embassy looks forward that after the COVID-19 pandemic and through the existing visa-free agreement, more Filipino tourists will come to visit Israel and vice versa. In November 2013, 2 Israeli planes carrying humanitarian aid first touched the Philippine soil to assist the Philippines in wake of Super Typhoon Yolanda. At least 100 former members of the New People's Army received over 2.4 million pesos in financial aid from the government. The rebel returnees received 20,000 pesos in cash aid and an additional 4,000 pesos as food assistance. The Armed Forces of the Philippines, the Davao de Oro Provincial Government, and the Department of Social Welfare and Development provided the financial aid intended for conflict-affected and vulnerable areas. Davao de Oro Governor J.V. Tayrod Uy hopes the financial assistance would give former rebels peace of mind as they intend to live a normal life in the mainstream society. Health officials in Cebu City claim that herd immunity may be causing the drop in the number of COVID-19 cases in the city. More on this and other news from the provinces from Laid Cabagani.
The Department of Health in Cebu City observed that Cebu City could be developing herd immunity to COVID-19. Based on surveillance testing at the Carbon Market, the city's biggest wet market, 47% of the 2,000 plus market vendors tested to be asymptomatic and had already recovered from active infection of the virus. Herd immunity can be achieved if 70 to 80% of the community has been exposed to the virus and developed immunity. Since September, the COVID-19 curve has already flattened for nearly 6 weeks now. In Davao, the Department of Agriculture or DA has tapped 7 rice processing centers to provide processing and marketing support to rice farmers. The DA said through the RPCs, rice farmers will not just sell palay at a lower cost but will also mill their rice produce at a reasonable price. The RPCs will also help address the need for an improved milling system in the country. The agency meanwhile encouraged farmers and consumers to report uncompetitive buying of rice to the authorities. Meanwhile, the DA in the Cordillera has released over 377 million pesos in assistance to farmers in the region amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Some 224.4 million was released in the form of a soft loan under the Expanded Survival and Recovery Aid or ESSURE, 80.8 million under the Rice Farmers Financial Assistance Program, and 72.5 million under the Rice Resiliency Project. The Kadiwa ni Ani at Kita program was mobilized as a marketing strategy where the producer was linked directly to the consumer, especially those in the urban areas like Metro Manila. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Laid Cabagani.
Athletes and coaches who are members of the Philippine team now enjoy discounts of up to 20% on purchases and services. The discounts are availed through a booklet issued by the National Sports Association or NSA to qualified athletes. SEA Games bronze medalist Eza Rayalong posted on social media how she received a big discount on purchases after using the booklet. NSA starting distributing discount booklets to their athletes this October. Last July 13, the Baguio City Council passed a resolution urging all business establishments, hotels, and transports to grant 20% discount for national athletes and coaches. The discount is provided for under Republic Act 10699 or the National Athletes and Coaches Benefits and Incentives Act of 2015. A beach resort in Borayok Village, PAGUDPUD, Ilocos Norte, opened its doors on Wednesday to temporarily house former drug dependents. During the opening and blessing of Kanlungan ni Kuya, Mayor Rafael Ralph Benemerito II said the facility will initially accommodate 36 former drug dependents for at least 30 days. They will be monitored by the local government unit and the Philippine National Police. The Bahay Silangan, locally known as Kanlungan ni Kuya, Bahay Silangan is a reformation center for residents who had been victims of drug abuse. The program offers values formation and livelihood opportunities which are meant to empower them as good and law-abiding citizens. To date, PAGUDPUD has a total of 217 persons under the drug watch list. 4 out of the 14 drug-affected barangays are now cleared. Baguio City and the province of Gov't will host the Miss Universe Philippines 2020 on October 25. Some 50 candidates will vie for a slot in the beauty pageant as they start to arrive today, October 15, for the pre-pageant activities. Mayor Benjamin Magalong said the candidates are expected to test negative for COVID-19. They will not visit the city parks and there will be no encounter with the locals. The pageant on October 25 will be covered live without an audience. The Baguio's Country Club will host the event for the first time, but only candidates, organizers, and staff and the television crew will be present. The month of October started the easing of tourist restriction in the city as it welcomed visiting residents of Region 1. Here's another look at today's biggest stories. President Duterte wants all Filipinos to receive COVID-19 vaccine for free. The president warns that getting involved in illegal drug trade is like committing suicide. Measures are underway for companies' 13th month pay. And Baguio City is gearing up for the hosting of the 2020 Miss Universe Philippines. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check more news content, visit our webpage or head onto the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also, watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, I am William Theo. Good day, stay safe everyone, and God bless.